Hello, welcome to episode 7 of Mindful Matters.
Hey guys.
This is Allie and Liz, and today's topic is all about forgiveness. We're going to talk about how difficult it is to give forgiveness sometimes, what forgiveness means, some misconceptions about what it is and what it isn't, and how forgiveness has played a role in our lives.
So, today's self-care tip going along with forgiveness is practicing gratitude and appreciation. A lot of the times in my practice of forgiveness, which forgiveness will go from like forgiveness for myself, because sometimes people beat themselves up, and then forgiveness for others is practicing gratitude. Because in practicing gratitude, it shifts your perspective from a place of lacking to a place of having. So there's a lot of things to be grateful for, and what you put your attention and your focus on is what you give your energy to. So in forgiveness, it's a very big topic because, forgiveness can go from somebody hurt your feelings to much, much more dire circumstances.
Like you disappointed yourself.
Or, we were just talking about like Nazi Holocaust survivors forgiving soldiers, that put them through this stuff, which is very serious. But in that, there is a thing of appreciation for appreciating where you are now, what you have now, your relationships you have now. So
Yeah, sometimes before I would go to work, I would have like this dreadful feeling like, oh no, I have to go to work and I might get stressed out and, I might feel underappreciated or tired. But when I would do my gratitude log, I would be like, okay, I have this job because they value me and they want me there. They see a need. They need me there. I guess acknowledging that for me was kind of gave me the motivation to get through my day and know like I have a job. It gives me money to do the things I want to do. And, your perspective when you walk in every day is going to change the whole course of your day.
it does. It affects you and others around you. So, yeah. So, Allie and I do a gratitude journal. And so every day we try to write down 3 things that we appreciate or that we are grateful for in the day. And when you start building that habit of appreciation and gratitude, it just becomes second nature, like brushing your teeth. And it really changes your perspective and outlook on life. Things get you less angry and you're able to forgive much easier. So that's why our self-care tip is gratitude and appreciation, because it ties into our forgiveness theme today. So moving on to our breathing affirmations for today. We got 5 of them. As I forgive myself, it becomes easier to forgive others. Forgiveness is a strength, and I choose to be strong. I release the past and step into the future with love and good intentions. I love all of who I am. I really like that one. And I forgive myself and others so I can have inner peace. So, are we ready?
Yep.
Okay.
Feel free to join us right now wherever you are. Just breathe in, breathe out, and then say the affirmation with us.
Or even think about what you're grateful for.
Yeah.
Okay. Here goes. As I forgive myself, it becomes easier to forgive others.
Forgiveness is a strength, and I choose to be strong.
I release the past and step into the future with love and good intentions.
I love all of who I am.
I forgive myself and others so I can have inner peace. I always feel better after that.
Yeah, so every time I do these, I I hear it or I say it, depending on who's saying it. And I really try to breathe that in like you're kind of repeating it in your head as you're breathing in, and then just.
Yeah, I like to feel my lungs expand because that brings me into the present, like into my body, and I don't know why, it just feels really good, like a massage.
So like I breathe it in, like to take it in, and then when I breathe out, it's kind of like it's set. It's like it's there now. I don't know. Yeah. So forgiveness is the topic of today, and I think there's a general meaning of it, but there's also like a personal meaning to it. So what does forgiveness mean to you?
Forgiveness, for me, is a choice to let go, and to let go and let grow. So forgiveness for me is if, something happened, somebody did me dirty, to let go of it and to... When you say that it's okay, there's a difference between, someone says, I'm sorry, and you're like, oh, that's okay, versus I'm sorry, and it's like, I forgive you. You're acknowledging that this person is sorry, in one, and that it wasn't a right thing to do, but you're going to let it go. People mess up sometimes, and then you let it go and you can move on from it. And hopefully both people learn and grow from. But when you say like, oh, that's okay, you're saying, oh, what you did, that's okay. There's a difference there. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't like it when people say it's okay when I'm apologizing to them.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm telling you that it's not okay, and I wasn't comfortable doing that to you.
Right,
so
yeah.
That's why I'm saying I'm sorry.
Right. And so I used to be one of the people who said that's okay. And so I've changed it now as I've learned about boundaries and speaking up and voicing my truth. So I would say, I forgive you. So in that, it's letting go and releasing. It's me releasing the anger that I had, the hurt that I had, the frustration that I had with whatever happened, and just choosing to say, hey, if the person comes up to me and says sorry and they acknowledge that it was a mistake, then okay, cool. Everyone messes up and no harm, no foul. If somebody does something to me that they may never, ever apologize, which I know is harder for other people.
Yeah.
I forgive them because I'm tired of reliving the past of what they did. Because I'm never going to change them. So I need to let go for me to move on and live my life happily. It's not about the other person anymore at that point because they don't care. So I need to do what I need to do to heal and to let go and to let grow. And so that way I can grow into the person that I want to be. So forgiveness for me, again, is a lot about like letting go and seeing the other person, acknowledging that they're human, and allowing yourself to heal no matter what.
Yeah, for me, it's pretty similar. I have my definition of forgiveness is it's a decision that you're making to say like, I'm not going to allow myself to be hurt by this anymore. It doesn't mean that sometimes it's not going to hurt when you think about it, but you're choosing to let it go and not dwell on it anymore.
Right.
And
I got my phone and I looked up the definition for forgiveness, but it's kind of vague, which is interesting.
Oh, no.
Forgiveness, according to Google, says the act of forgiving, pardon.
I hate when they use the word in the definition.
Yeah.
That doesn't help anyone.
So it says the act of granting pardon as for a wrong, offense, a sin. It's a remission of an obligation or penalty. It's a pardon. So that would be like the most technical definition.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess if you're not seeking to punish them, then...
Yeah, it says to release... The pardon definition is to release a person from punishment or disfavor for wrongdoing or fault. So, to allow an offense or a fault to pass without punishment or disfavor. So, I mean, you're letting stuff go.
The key word is letting it pass. Not that they didn't do anything wrong. It's like not sweeping it under the rug.
Right.
It still happened. But you're choosing to not hold on to it anymore,
Yes.
No more asking, like, why did this happen to me? Or, like, why would they do that anymore? Just...
Right.
Accept maybe it is a little bit accepting that it just happened and just...
Yes, acceptance.
Yeah.
That's a big one that I've been learning. A lot of people don't even want to acknowledge that something happened. And
that's not healthy.
It's not healthy because you're creating this resistance from it. It's almost like a rubber band pulling away. The more you acknowledge that something didn't happen, and the more you don't accept that something didn't happen, that is burying it under the carpet and burying it deep within. So I think a lot of people think that acceptance means that saying the wrongdoing that happened was okay.
Nope.
No, it wasn't okay, but you have to acknowledge that it happened and that it wasn't okay. You can't go and say like this never happened, or pretend that it never happened. And I think that's where people get into trouble. So with forgiveness, what I find is a lot of the times it's hard to forgive somebody because you first have to accept and acknowledge that the wrongdoing happened.
Yep.
And depending on how severe the trauma is, we talked about like Nazi Germany and like Holocaust survivors. The book that I had recommended a few episodes ago, The Choice, the woman, Edith Ava Eger, she talks about forgiveness. That was one of the big things for her. She not only forgave her, she had to forgive herself first before she could forgive other players of what happened in the Holocaust. But going back to it, you have to first accept that it happened. You can't go on living a life that, everything's perfect and, you're perfect.
Yeah, I think that is initially a coping mechanism for some people.
It is, yes.
Like, I heard it's almost natural sometimes, like, especially in children, like, they'll just switch and go into, like, this burying, like...
It is. It's definitely a survival mechanism.
But then you're gonna see it pop up in other areas in your life, whether you acknowledge it or not. So... Okay,
let me ask you this. What do you mean by it? What is it gonna pop up? Because that's an important point.
The feelings, the trauma, the unresolved, like, feelings that you had about it, they're gonna come up in different areas in your life.
Would you think that would be like a trigger of sorts?
Yeah. The trigger will remind you of, like, the thing that you haven't addressed, and then it's just gonna pop up in some place that you're not even thinking about it.
That's a big one.
So yeah, it could start off as a coping mechanism. I know it kind of happened with me where, like, I had a lot of hard time remembering things that happened to me, and then it started popping up, and I'm like, oh well, I guess I have to address this now. There's also I'm gonna briefly say that there's religious forgiveness, which is a little different.
Okay.
In certain religions, forgiveness is more about, it is still about letting it go, like, not holding the negative feelings, but it's more because, like, it's not your job to, like, punish or have those feelings. Your job is only to love.
Interesting.
Your job is only to love your neighbor, only to love everyone around you. It is God's job to, like,
does he punish
forgive
though?
or not forgive.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, just in a religious context, I talked to one of my Christian friends about this, about what he thinks about forgiveness, and yeah, he was saying, like, yeah, it's my job to forgive everyone because it's, like, it's not my job to hold those feelings. I only love. So yeah, like, it's interesting to think about, like, non-religious versus religious forgiveness, because for me, I actually kind of have standards as to how I forgive people, and I don't know if it's the same, but, like, I have to see that this person, I guess it's more of a trust issue.
Interesting.
Like, I guess there's a forgiveness, like, this happened and I'm letting it go, but there's also the issue, like, am I going to trust this person again? So I guess I have maybe not barriers to my forgiveness, but barriers to my trust.
So this is a big one. This is a really big one because I've been learning the same stuff. And with forgiveness, there's trust and vulnerability. So what's interesting and what I've learned is I am a person to forgive really quickly. And I forgive really quickly because for me, if it's anybody, if I harbor these like, oh, they did this to me, they did that to me, they did this to me, over and over and over again, I just feel bad. Because I see these people and it's just like they're living their life and they don't really care. You know, they're not harboring the ill will. The only person that it's hurting is me.
Yep.
And I'm tired of feeling horrible. I want to move on with my life. So I'm very quick to be like, you know what? I forgive them, whatever. Like, they do their own thing and it's whatever. Now, what's interesting is I would have these worries and fears that, man, if I open up again, someone's going to come in and they're going to hurt my heart, or they're going to hurt me all over again. So the interesting thing is that we live in life and nobody is perfect and people come and go. And what I've learned is that you can't make anybody stay. You can't make anybody be perfect. I wasn't perfect to a lot of other people. And I've asked, I've gone to people and been like, I'm sorry I acted like a fool, and I felt it. So the trust, it's not placing the trust in another person. Because I can never, on one hand, you do trust somebody, right? I trust you. But if they mess up and they come back to you and they're like, oh, I'm sorry, then it's like, okay, I forgive you, no harm, no foul. If they mess up real big and it's like, irreconcilable, then you kind of look at the person differently, right? And then when that person goes away or you choose to create a boundary with them, they'll probably be from afar, so they can't really like hurt you anymore. And then you turn around to a new person, and now you're scared of like opening up to them, right? But you're placing the trust in them when the trust is in you, in knowing that no matter what happens, if you fall down or if you get punched in the face, you're gonna pick yourself back up. Yeah. Because you don't want, if you have a window, right, and you have it open, you are letting the sunshine in, you're letting the fresh air in, you're letting the breeze and the smell of flowers, but you can also let in a bug. You can also let in a fly. You can also let in, I know we have...
The smell of your neighbor's trash.
The smell of your neighbor's trash. But if you have the windows closed the whole time, you're never going to get the good stuff. You're not going to get the sunlight, you're not going to get the breeze, and you have to know that if a fly does come into your house, you can shoosh it out. So
that's a good analogy.
So for me, that's what I learned, where it's like I stopped being afraid of being vulnerable, and I took the trust and I put it within me, where I like this person, I have my trust in this person, I don't know what's gonna happen in the future, but when we're not there yet, so I'm gonna appreciate what we have right now. If the person, makes a mistake and messes up, I'll deal with it then. But I'll know what to do because I trust myself that I can pick myself up. And like I said, going back to it, we live in life. The waves keep crashing, but, you're still swimming and you still keep yourself up. That's what matters. That's where your trust comes from.
So you're trusting not only, like, your own ability to, like, pick yourself up. You're trusting in your own boundaries and your ability to, like, protect yourself.
Yes. Your ability to see the person and to gauge them and to use your intuition. And it doesn't mean you don't have to be precautious, and it doesn't mean you don't have to be not trusting, or, you got to watch out. We live in life. But you don't have to close your window for everybody. You got to let love in. You got to let happiness and good times in. If you close yourself off and build a wall, you're right back where you started. It's not healthy.
Yeah, because you build the wall. Yeah, you're blocking out the bad things and bad feelings and all the negative things that scare you, but you're also blocking out everything else.
Right, and that's not good. We all deserve to be happy and to let love in and to feel love and to be loved by people. It's a good thing. And so forgiveness, you allow yourself to let go of the transgressions of others that may have like done things to you. And you can move on. And it doesn't mean that whatever happened didn't happen or was any less or any more painful. It's not being dismissed. It's just you want to open your windows again. You want to feel good again. And that's what matters.
So a lot of people, when I think we talked about this in like conflicts episode, where like, if you get hurt by someone, it does feel natural to want to like protect yourself from it, to feel safe from being hurt, and you also want to know that like your feelings are valid. But why what's wrong with holding a grudge?
What's wrong with holding a grudge is you're the one. So I'll give an analogy is when you hold a grudge, you hold this thing and you're like hitting yourself over the head. Because what happens is you're holding on to, let's say this was anger. You're holding on to anger. You're holding on to anger. I'm so angry that you did this. I'm so angry that you did this. So here's the thing. Emotions, they come and go, right? So if you did something to me and I got angry, yes, I got angry. The emotional trigger and the emotional reaction happened, right? But we all know that there is a point where those emotions fade. So now, once you're past, people get excited and then they calm down. People react and then they calm down, So what happens is that after you calm down, if you're still holding on to this, now that's you holding on to it. There is a reaction that your body does, I would say like physiologically to trigger reactions. And we went through triggers, right? And we went through breathing in other episodes and to see what's going on, which caused me to hold on to this book. But once I realized like, oh, I think I got angry because of this, then you got to let it go. Because once you let it go, it's like, oh, okay, I'm moving on, I'm moving forward. If you decide to continue to hold on by keeping this grudge, you're holding on to anger. You're holding on to these negative emotions. So this anger, it's no good for you because we've talked about this before too, where it's like the anger causes heart problems. It causes disease. Inflammation. I mean, I'm talking about anger, but there's fear, there's depression, all these negative emotions. Yeah. So, you're choosing to hold on to it because you can very well let it go, but it's like, no. They did something to me and I'm angry. So, here's the thing. What if you didn't even realize you did what you did? What if you did what you did and you don't even care and you walk away and you have your own fun? Chances are when you see that person again and you're holding on to the grudge, they're still doing their own thing. They don't care. They don't care about you because it's never been about you. It's about the person, right? But what are you doing over here? You're still holding on, beating yourself up, repeating the past, repeating what happened to you, and the person has like moved on. So the reason why holding a grudge is like, dangerous is because you're only hurting yourself in the long run. And the moment it's like what we talk about with like baggage and people holding on to things. It's within you to let it go. It's within you to drop it. Some things are harder than others. I know it sounds very easier said than done, but it's the same practice over and over again. It's the same principle. I've had people in my life hurt me really, really bad from really close relationships. And I've went through it and I put it down. I was like, I'm tired of holding this. I'm tired of beating myself up. I just want love and I just want peace and I want to move on. And it has been one of the most like best decisions I have. But when you hold a grudge, it's past the knee-jerk reaction, natural trigger phase. Now you're doing it on purpose to yourself. And that serves nobody, not even you.
What about, like, to get rid of those feelings, what if you hurt them like they hurt you?
Nah, I mean, I know...
What about getting back at people?
I don't know, because then you would have to stoop to their level. Because, see, for me, like, the people that hurt me... Right? And I'm not really going to say it out loud on this one because it is a little really personal. But the people that hurt me or that, did stuff to me or whatever. And it sounds weird saying like they did it to me, but the events that transpired. How about that? The events that transpired, if I don't have it in me to go seek them out and go repay them and make them feel the hurt that I did. I don't have it. In fact, what the pain caused me to do, it caused me to realize that I don't like feeling this way, and I never want to make somebody else feel that way too. So I'm going to choose not to prolong it. So I'm going to choose to, forgive and move on. because I ain't got time for that. Like, you know, like, I don't have time for that. I'm not going to go out and seek my enemies and make them pay and no, because I want to go do this over here, and I have these goals that I want to aspire to, and I know what kind of human I want to be because I learned from what not to do over there, and I'm going to do better, and I'm going to choose to do better because it's all a choice. So as far as like seeking, I haven't gone to a point where it's, you know, where I want to go make somebody else hurt, because what kind of person is the one to make somebody else hurt? Why not choose to uplift and help people feel better?
It doesn't align with who you are.
It doesn't align with who I am. And when you practice true forgiveness, you're not even going to care. You're going to want to like, yeah, okay, I forgive you. Moving on. I'm never going to talk to you again and you're out of my life, but I wish you the best and, you know, many good things for you. I'm going to go over here and go live my life the way I want to live it.
Do you think it's kind of natural in some point in your life, maybe before your brain's fully developed, like the children, like to either seek revenge or seek to punish when you are hurt?
As a kid, yeah.
Because, like, you know, someone makes you drop your ice cream. You probably want to be like, you stupid, and like hit them.
Yeah, I mean, I've done that. I mean, I've gotten in fights with my little brothers because... You know, they did something, they took my eraser and I was mad and I pushed them and then they pushed me. And yeah, kids fight for sure.
So it is a little bit instinctual, I would say, to be hurt and then want to punish. But it's just not healthy, and it's been proven over and over again with multiple studies saying punishment just doesn't work to change people.
No. You can't change people.
No.
There is no such thing as changing people. I think, you know, kids... You know, I don't have children, but I think kids, you guide them as they grow because they're developing, right? So it's like a little seedling where you help them grow and you provide structure for them so they can wrap around the little fence and stuff. That's different than being an adult and choosing how you want to act.
Yeah. It's, I don't know. You see it a little differently, though. Like, you know, if a waiter gets your order wrong, a lot of people are like, well, I want them to be fired.
No.
And then, like, if the person said that thing you don't agree with, well, I want them to be punched in the face. They deserve to get, like, their ass kicked because of what they said. Mm-hmm. And then, like, you know, the guy who cut me off in the freeway, I hope they get in an accident. You know, it's like these toxic things.
So here's the thing. I will be very honest. I've been so angry where, yeah, I do want to fight. I do want to punch people in the face. I do. It's normal. That's normal. That is a human reaction. That's your fight or flight response. Fight or flight. Mm-hmm. Something causes you to get a reaction where you think you automatically have to go into survival mode, and you get so angry that either you run away, or you get so upset that you run away, or you fight. So, yeah, it's very normal. It's very normal for that. But we're bigger than that. We can control our reactions, and we can choose who we want to be. So in that, it's like, no. And what's interesting is all of us, not just me, all of us have been in both situations.
Yep.
All of us have been in a situation. I used to work in the restaurant where people would be mad at me for not getting their order right. And it was horrible. And it sucked. And I would be so mad that, like, it would not be good. So now, you know, whenever I would sit down, I would be very nice to the waiter because I know what they have to deal with. You know, I used to work in retail and fold the clothes, and somebody would come in and mess everything up, and I'd be like, man, I just did that. So now when I go and shop, I fold the clothes back up perfectly and I put it back because I know. So I've been on both ends, and I've been in situations where I realized, oh man, I was acting like a jerk. Oh man. But in all of this, it's self-awareness and choosing who you want to be. And why is it, the thing that I've never understood with forgiveness is, I've heard people say, well, people did this to me, so that gives me justification to turn around and do it to you. And it's like, no, why does it have to be that way? If they did that to you, why can't you just say, I'm going to make sure it's never going to happen again to anybody else?
Yeah.
Because you can just as easily choose that.
Yeah, because then you're just going to start a cycle.
Yeah. How do you break cycles?
Just stop.
You stop, right? Your dad, your grandpa beat your dad, and then your dad beat you, and then because your dad beat you, now that gives you justification to beat your kid? No. When does it stop?
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, you know what? This happened to me. My kid is going to be protected forever. I'm never going to let anybody touch him.
Mm-hmm.
Because I grew through it. I learned through it. And I am tired of holding on to this thing. You know, I forgive the person because... Another one. I forgive the person because who knows what they had to go through with their parents that had nothing to do with me before I was ever even born. So... I don't know what led them to become in that situation. I don't really care. I hope he seeks help. I hope he finds peace and love. But I'm sorry, I'm cutting this off and I'm starting a new life.
Well, it's like empathy.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're seeking to punish and seek retribution, you're throwing empathy out the window, I think.
Yep. It's all connected.
Mm-hmm.
Which is actually, it's cool that you
trust, forgiveness,
communication,
empathy, acceptance.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's all the circle of life here.
It's connected, yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about our personal struggles with forgiveness. We've talked a little bit about them.
Yeah.
But so what was a time where you had to either forgive someone or forgive yourself? Sometime when you were successful, I suppose, and then maybe unsuccessful.
All right, I'll just say it. Like, one of my parents, like, left the family, just up and left, and that was so painful. I mean, when you're one of your parents just leaves. So I thought that I wasn't good enough. I thought, that I saw kind of like a turmoil, and it affected me because I was like, man, like, even one of my own parents couldn't stay. Like, what's wrong with me that I can't keep my family together? And so I had to learn that, the person is who they want to be, and it has nothing to do with me. I wish them well. They chose to live a different life than they wanted. And I wish them well. And you know what? It turns out I'm actually really good. I'm an adult. I have love in my heart. I know for a fact I'm never going to do that to my children ever, 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 ever. Because I know how painful it is. And I'm going to choose to grow from this. So in forgiveness, man, there was a lot. There was a moment where it was like a breaking of the cycle. Because the parent who left had not good parents. So my grandparents weren't very good. My great-grandparents weren't. There was a cycle of trauma in the family. So when I decided to give the forgiveness, even without even talking to this parent, because I don't talk to this parent, so I'll probably never get an I'm sorry, or I may never, who knows. But in that risk, I had to give forgiveness regardless. And it was more about letting go and knowing that they may never acknowledge like the things that they've done, but that's okay. And that was for me breaking a cycle because I was just so tired of feeling bad about myself, and I had to realize it wasn't my fault.
So you forgave the parent and realized maybe there wasn't anything wrong with you to forgive? Or did you have to forgive yourself?
There was, as far as like forgiving myself, yeah, there was forgiveness because I treated myself so mean, and I was not kind to myself. I pushed my feelings and my needs to the side. There was a lot of remember we talked about earlier about like putting things under the carpet?
Yep.
For a long time, I didn't accept that this happened. I just push it under the carpet, and I try to squash it down, and I try to go on living life thinking everything was fine. Until I started having memory issues, like physical symptoms, where I'm like, I probably need to get some help, or I need to figure this out. So I had to forgive myself because I was not allowing myself to hurt. I was not allowing myself to grieve. I was not allowing myself to... I didn't cry. For a really long time, I didn't cry. I pretended everything was okay and everything was perfect, but I was hurting on the inside. And so the moment I let myself grieve and the moment I let myself feel the emotions, and this is 10 years later. This wasn't even then. But the moment I allowed myself to revisit that moment and accept that it happened, I was sad and I apologized to myself. I'm sorry I didn't let you feel these sooner. I'm sorry you didn't get to grieve sooner, but you're grieving now, and let it go. I will give you all the time you need to let it go and pick yourself up. And it was almost like opening up the floodgates, and whoosh, everything just kind of swooshed out. But it took 10 years to get to that point. So
Yeah.
healing is not an overnight journey. Healing is forever.
Yeah, and sometimes it takes a long time for you to realize that the thing that you're not healing from, like delaying that process, is like just slowly picking at your life, slowly picking at, like, it's just chipping away at it, and you don't even realize it until one day it's just like clicks.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I thought that I had forgiven myself for things that I didn't like, because I would, I guess, just accept it. But more I accepted that it happened, I didn't accept how it made me feel.
Oh.
So I just, like, if I say I had a goal to eat better, but then that day I ate bad food, I'd be like, yeah, I ate the bad food.
That's a big one.
But I wouldn't acknowledge, I'm like, you know, I feel bad that I ate the bad food, or like, you know, I feel like a failure. I feel all these things about it. I would just say, like, it was kind of stuffing it under the rug, but I guess I just didn't realize that I had to face everything that came with it.
It almost sounds like you were beating yourself up.
So one day I finally decided, like, okay, what is forgiveness really? And I really sat down and, like, I cried, because if it finally was me taking in all the feelings for once and accepting that they were there.
Yep.
And then telling myself, you know what? Every day you are trying to make improvements. Every single day you're striving to be a better person. And if someone else had wronged me like this, but they were changing every day to make sure it didn't happen.
Yes, because nobody is perfect.
Then I would forgive them.
Yes.
So why aren't I forgiving myself?
Yes. Dang, Allie, that's good.
So, yeah, I cried from realizing that, like, I feel this way, but I'm doing my best, so I can forgive myself. And it felt like this weight was off of me.
That's exactly what it feels like.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was carrying it with me, and I didn't really even know, because, like I said, I thought just accepting that things happened was all of it, but it wasn't. It was really just taking the feelings in, knowing the whole picture, and then just like, okay, let it go.
So there's this really quick, there's this visualization technique that I was taught to forgive. So what you do is you breathe, and you get yourself to a calm spot, and you think about a person that's done something bad to you, and you think about, and you ask them, and you tell them, if they've done something wrong to you, you visualize them. And then you visualize yourself saying, I forgive you. Then what you do is you visualize somebody who you did something wrong to, and you ask them for forgiveness. And you're visualizing them, and you visualize, you ask them for forgiveness, and then you visualize what they say. And then you talk to yourself, and you ask yourself for forgiveness for something that for something that you feel bad about. And so this visualization is huge, because what's interesting is the person doesn't even have to be with you in the room in order for you to ask for forgiveness or get forgiveness.
Wow, that's really interesting.
I would highly suggest it. It was one of the most powerful things, because that's one of the things that opened up the floodgates for me to be able to forgive my parent. Yeah. So it's a good practice. And it's at nighttime, so it's like you're it's like a defrag, like I don't know if anybody knows what that is, but it's kind of like a rearranging, and it's like a cleaning of house. So that way you're not holding on to it, because your body holds on to these feelings. Your body holds on to these transgressions and these traumas, and fortunately, you're the only one that can let it go. You're the only one who picks this up, and you're the only one who could drop it. That's it.
I might have to try that, because, like, I talked about a time where I had to forgive myself, but I'm not a saint. I still have things inside me that I don't want to let go for some reason, or, like, I say I can't, but I can.
You can.
I can let it go, but maybe I'm just not ready, or I don't want to. So, that's where things we struggle with.
Well, that's where you need, some digging. It doesn't. I did say the analogy of, like, oh yeah, you can just drop it and let it go, boom. But it's easier said than done, because it's the reason. Okay, first of all, the reason why I can drop it and let it go is because I've been practicing it for 10 years. So that's why, you go to the gym and you're lifting, however many. Yeah, it takes a lot to create the momentum. It takes a lot to create the habit. But once you do and you build it's all building. You build the trust within yourself, you're actually going to be able to revisit really big transgressions in your life that you couldn't let go of in the past. And because you built your muscle and because you built your emotional fitness, you can revisit those, and then you're ready to slay the dragon.
It's also important to ask yourself why you're holding on to it.
Yeah, and...
Like, why? Is it something important that I'm afraid if I let go of it, something's going to happen?
So one of the things that was interesting was when I first started seeing a therapist, the first thing I said to her on the first day was like, I want to heal from what happened with my parent. And she kind of looked at me like, okay. Like, all right. And in my mind, I had no idea what that meant. Flash forward 2 years later, I'm at the place where I not only forgive the parent, but I've seen the parent recently, and it was a completely different experience than how it had been in the past. So what's interesting is that the healing, you can't just, if somebody did something to you that was like really big, you can't just go and turn around and all of a sudden go from 0 to 100 and be like, okay, I'm ready to forgive you.
No.
What you actually have to do, and what I had to do, was I had to actually not think about that. So it was over there. I had to put it to the side. And in putting it to the side, I started small, and I started forgiving myself for beating myself up and not practicing grace. And then I started forgiving the people around me. And then I started building and building and building. And then I became fit enough to where I didn't even have to go seek out that parent. The parent came to me. When the student is ready, the master appears. Mm-hmm. Or like, you level up. Well, it happened, and it was natural, and I knew exactly what to do. So if you're not ready to forgive something yet, that's okay. Mm-hmm. That's normal, and that's understandable. What can you do to build up to it? Like what, and it's practice. It's all practice.
Yeah. So I heard this story. I was watching Queer Eye on Netflix, and this is a very amazing story about how this guy... I like
that show.
Yeah, I love it. So positive.
Was it Karamo?
Karamo showed this man, he got shot.
Karamo's really good, too.
Karamo's like, yeah.
He's really good at that.
He's the OG. He is really good. Mm-hmm. So this guy on the episode, the hero of the episode, he got shot, and he got hit like in the spine. And his lower body was paralyzed.
Oh, no.
He was in a wheelchair. So his life was changed forever. Mm-hmm. Like, now he can't walk. Mm-hmm. But I think he started, like, a gym for, like, disabled people. Mm-hmm. And he turned his life around. And he wanted to meet the person who shot him. So Karamo took him. And they met in a public place with the person who shot him. And they talked. And he forgave the person. He even thanked him, which I think is, like...
huge.
Like, yeah, like, it's one thing to forgive and let go, but to thank somebody
yes.
for shooting you?
That's appreciation right there. Yes.
But, like, he said, like, you know what? Like, I understand, like, where you were in your life, and, maybe you were afraid, maybe you were, whatever you were. I forgive you. But I also thank you because my life has changed forever, and, without this... I don't know, like, I might have went down a different path, mm-hmm. but he loves where he is now, mm-hmm. and that's amazing.
Isn't it? I think what's also amazing is that I hear people talk about forgiveness and how they say it's hard or they can't let go, of certain things, but what's also interesting is that when you watch that show, you see the forgiveness happening in front of you, and you cry because you resonate with it. You can see it. You can see the power of forgiveness. So forgiveness is there. The power of it is there, and people can see it. It just, sometimes some people aren't in that stage where they can face their shooter.
Yeah. There was another episode where, same thing on Queer Eye. It was a father and a daughter. Mm-hmm. And it was the father, and that was his first daughter. So I'm sure you can relate to this, where you have all the standards, you have all the pressure, and you have... all these very strict rules because they think they're protecting you. They think that, they're instilling good values in you, but really it can be a little much. Mm-hmm. So she ended up just leaving. Mm-hmm. Like, she just left, like, no goodbye, just packed up her stuff and left. Mm-hmm. And it just hurt the family so much, but, you know, it made the father realize that, like, he had things to work on in himself.
Mm-hmm.
So they met up and they talked it out, and, you know, I also cried on that one because it was so emotional, and
That was a good one. I saw that one.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it was very touching.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because I think that's what makes it so endearing is the book that I told you about, The Choice. That one talks about a Nazi Holocaust survivor surviving and forgiving what happened, forgiving herself. She had to forgive herself, you know, again, for not letting herself feel the emotions. I mean, there's stories constantly, you know, somebody gets raped or abused and they forgive their attacker. I mean, this is what I'm saying, where I said earlier, where it's like, it's a broad spectrum, but the forgiveness remains true. And you need, if you want to heal, you need forgiveness. It's all, just like what we said, it's all connected. And it doesn't mean that it diminishes or that it dismisses or it makes what happened any less. It's just allowing you to face it, to be able to move on from it and try to grow from it and live a happier life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, is there anything else you wanted to add?
No, I think that was a good ender.
Yeah. So thank you guys again for hanging out with us, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks. Bye, guys.
Bye.